up, guys? Travic here, and today I want to talk about secrets of the Atlas and what I've been doing very early to make a lot of currency. A lot of people have been reaching out to me. They say, hey man, I'm having a hard time. I'm just getting the maps. I'm not really making a lot of money. I don't know what to do. How did you make your money early? Well, today let's talk about that. First and foremost, I started the build with my League Starter. My League Starter went great. I used my League Starter to blast the Atlas and get a lot of Atlas completion, and that should be the first thing that you guys are doing. Currently, right now, with my Atlas and where I am, I'm 91 of 115. I fully plan on finishing the Atlas today after I'm done recording this video, but first and foremost, you as the player should be focusing on finishing your Atlas. Finishing your Atlas allows you a couple of very important things. First and foremost, when you finish your Atlas, it allows you to get Atlas points, and these Atlas passives are what we're going to use today to talk about how we're going to build trees and how we're going to use them to make our currency. And the second important thing is, as you finish and progress through the Atlas and do different types of maps, you'll unlock your favorite map slots. These allow you to focus and target farm certain maps that allow you to really be able to build a nice map pool. But let's start from the beginning and work our way up. First and foremost, very early on in the league, I noticed something very, very, very important, that when you either reset a zone, which I think has been fixed, or you start farming in early maps, there are these mercenaries. Now, mercenaries would get a little bit harder later on into the league. As you get closer and closer to tier 16 maps, they get a little bit more difficult. But something I noticed very early, and you'll see now in a second, is when I find my mercenaries, they have a couple of really cool things going for them. They provide you with the ability to gain a lot of currency. Now, you'll also notice too, I'm doing stuff here and I'm making sure to gather my ore because I want to be able to start doing King's March stuff. That's for testing. I'm going to save that for later on after I make sure I 100% know what I'm talking about. But first and foremost, let's see. Mercenaries. When you get into a tier 1 map and run into a mercenary, there are two types of mercenaries. There's your regular mercenary, and I forget, they have a secondary name. I can't think of the name off the top of my head right now, but you'll run into a mercenary and they'll have their regular little name, and they'll have their little level, and they'll have their renown score. And the idea is, with every single mercenary, they're also going to have gear. Now, if I click take item, I can actually pick an item that the mercenary is wearing and take it off of them. Some of the items that they're wearing are really, really, really good, and some of them will actually sell. And you'll be able to figure out what does and doesn't sell, because you can actually just, right from the mercenary window, price check the mercenary's item and see if there's something that'll sell. Now, I'm not saying price check every single item, but there's a world where, this amulet, for example, sells for 5 chaos orbs. And very early, especially now in the league, 5C is a lot. And now you can either take that, you can look at this, you can look at this. But the moral of the story of what I'm saying here is, you should be looking at these mercenaries and trying to grab loot from them. Now, odds are you're not going to be playing Cast and Stun. You're going to be playing something that does a little bit more proactive damage, and you'll be able to get yourself a nice piece of loot. And the reason why this is important is every time that you reset a white map, the mercenary is going to respawn. Something really, really, really cool about the mercenaries is, from what we've seen on Reddit and what other players have been talking about, is these mercenaries can have anything. I, for example, have gotten my first Divine of the League off a mercenary, and that was, I think it was at the end of Act 8 or Act 9. I managed to find my first mercenary who had, a piece of loot on him, and it was a Divine Orb, and I was freaking out. I didn't know what to do. I was so scared I was going to lose it. But you can indeed find all kinds of insane stuff. We've seen Reddit posts that talk about the mercenaries having mage blood. We've seen them have mirrors. There's a clip of Spicy Sushi going around where he's gotten a mirror from a mercenary, and mercenaries in themselves are insanely powerful. Not only this, but spamming white maps can give you the opportunity to find random good stuff. Now, I know these two last examples haven't had anything too great outside of a couple of pieces of small currency, but these small currencies, especially early in the league, start to add up. If you have a character that can move a little bit faster, you're able to walk in a straight line, you find this mercenary, you can start to pick up, small pieces of bubblegum and pieces of gear that'll eventually get you to where you need to be. I've been doing this alongside of blighted maps, and I've made a ton of currency. I'm not sitting on the most amount of currency right now, but I currently have 3 divines, 111 chaos. I'm working on 6 linking my armor. I have a full cast and stun setup going on. I've got my weapon, my gloves. I've managed to do this farm and get my blood notch. I got my immutable force, and this has been working out really, really, really well. I just take a map, you know, you can alk it if you have a bunch of alks, you can run it white if you want to run it white, and you just kind of go into a map, you run around, you know, you find yourself another map, you look for the mercenary and you kill the mercenary. And that's been an insanely helpful tactic. And then I'm going to show you another one in a second. Let's go find one more mercenary. Let's see, there he is. So right here, we're talking tier 2 map, 4C. You know, I've been babbling for 5 minutes now. I know somebody's gonna be like, oh my God, you know, 4C in 5 minutes is not that great. But if you know, if you go a little bit faster, you're not babbling, you're not attempting to talk your way through it, you're just focused on killing the mercenary. Getting in, killing a mercenary, and getting out is really, really, really strong. You know, like you can make a lot of currency doing it. Now, in terms of Atlas and how to sustain your maps, because that's going to be the next question. I know I'm going to get this, is like, oh my God, how do I sustain my maps? What did you do? First and foremost, I had an Atlas tree that I experimented with, and I'm going to actually take this Atlas tree. I'm going to put it in a nice little POE planner for you, and I'm going to link that down below for you. First and foremost, what I did with my Atlas tree is when I started getting Atlas points, I came straight up the middle here. And then it came over here to the Kirak missions. Kirak missions are actually really strong this league, and they've been changed and updated. So you're probably going to want to farm some Kirak missions. The Kirak missions now have the old memories in them. So you're going to want to make sure that you get a couple of Kirak missions. So I came right up the middle here. I grabbed all these Kirak nodes, grabbed this commissioner's office, and then came over here to Scarab drop chance. Up here to item quantity, this way to item quantity, and then to unwavering visions. As soon as I got unwavering visions, I used the 20 points right from the middle. I came down here, grabbed shaping the mountains, came down over here, grabbed shaping the skies, and then came up here and grabbed these 3 nodes and these 3 nodes. The reason why I did this and then my Atlas looks like this as a starter is this allows you to maintain your maps and get connected maps. And the reason why this is so important is as you try to progress and fill out the Atlas, you're going to be able to have, you don't want to have, I should say, mapping problems. You don't want to have sustaining problems. You want to make sure that you're dropping a ton of tier 1 maps into tier 2 maps into tier 3 maps, and that you're chaining your way up the Atlas until you get your void stones. I know I have 2 void stones right now. I'm going to be working on 3 and 4 when I finish this video, but getting your void stones and having an Atlas strategy that allows you to do this is really, really, really important. Now, inside of Path of Exile, I know somebody's gonna be like, oh my God, you took some June nodes. You're right, I took some June nodes, I took some Shrine nodes. I was experimenting with those. I didn't really like the June nodes too much. I know Betrayal just got reworked, but I wasn't a huge fan. So after you get these 57 points, which are relatively technically 37 points, you can really experiment with other things in your maps that don't really rely on scarabs. So shrines, I ended up finding out, was really, really, really good. You can put a shrine in all of your maps. You can put extra shrine monsters in all of your maps. You can increase shrine buffs. You can put more shrines here. And you have the freedom after this initial setup, and I'm gonna leave you with this initial setup to then go and do whatever you want. So this will be the initial setup. You'll find this down below in the description, and this will walk you through what you're trying to do. After that, and after I made a little bit of currency, and I was able to start the ball rolling, I then took the opportunity to buy a bunch of blighted maps, and I started running blighted maps, and I started getting oils, and oils in themselves are relatively expensive, and I would list these oils for a really nice price. I would get a bunch of opalescent oils, a bunch of silvers, a bunch of red oils, a bunch of black oils, pretty much the whole 9 yards. And I would just start selling these oils at a premium and make a ton of currency. You know, I had 2 opalescent oils sitting in my bags. I've got, I can make a red oil here just for sake. I'll show you. And I've been selling all of the oils very early, started selling at, all kinds of different prices very early in the league. Day 2, day 1, crimson oils were 4.5C each. Black oils were 4.5C each. This one just sold for 2C. And, I was running a ton of blighted maps. So I would do that early strategy. I would chain farm mercenaries and go into maps and farm more mercenaries and get a couple chaos, use that couple of chaos, buy a blighted map, run a blighted map, wait for the stuff from the blighted map to sell, buy, do more white maps, progress my Atlas, buy more blighted maps. And I did this back and forth and back and forth and back and forth chain. Now my plan is that I've re-rolled into cast and stun, and I have pretty much gear to get going, I'm going to be doing a second Atlas tree as soon as I unlock, or a third Atlas tree as soon as I unlock my Atlas tree. And I'm going to go into the typical blight farming strategy that a lot of you guys know me for and a lot of you guys really enjoy. Blighted maps as well, farming with Cast and Sun is usually pretty simple and pretty easy. And I'm going to give you guys a blight map farming atlas here, and it's pretty straightforward. You know, you're going to get immune response for a bunch more enemies, you're going to take reduced cost of towers, and essentially this strat just kind of goes in order. You're going to come down here, you're going to grab this big wheel here. I personally like salvaging towers, but depending on the map that I'm running, I may or may not take salvaging towers. I'll leave that up to you. And then you come up here for more blighted chance. We're going to come over here, we're going to take this big wheel so that all of our chests are lucky and we get more rewards. We're going to come up over here so that the monsters take more damage. Come on up over here, and then we're going to grab the ability for our chest to contain more blighted maps and blight reach. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to have the ability to have additional loot dropping from our bosses. And it's pretty much, you're just going to set up this atlas as your second atlas or your third atlas in my case, and you'll have all these points and be able to do this right away. Once you set up this atlas like this, I really recommend going for increased map effect modifiers, which are right over here. And then you can get more map effect modifiers up here and down over here and over here. And you can see that there's more map modifier effects up here. There's more map modifier effects over here. And you really get your map modifiers all the way up and nice and juicy so that you start finding more and more and more and more and more and more loot. And this way, everything is really nice and really exploding. Now, I'm going to give you this atlas down below, and you know, it's going to include all the atlas effect modifiers. Now, if you do happen to get 132 points and you ask me what to do from here, where you're going to go from here, you're pretty much free to do whatever you want and pair blight with whatever you want. That really doesn't matter. You know, you can do anything that your heart desires in terms of like what to pair with blight. Now, things that I will mention is if you do go down the route of doing and farming your own blighted maps, there is a really good map on the thing this time around, and we do have access to Toxic Sewer. Toxic Sewer doesn't have the best cards on it, but it has a really good layout for farming. So what you can do is you can farm Toxic Sewer to farm blighted maps. It is a single line map, and I'll do a more in-depth video once I get my third atlas and once I start farming it and talking more about Toxic Sewer. But something that I would really recommend before you really start doing the farm is to get tier 16 Basilica maps and find the Nameless Seer. Pretty much you run tier 16 Basilica maps until you get Nameless Seer. Nameless Seer allows you to scry the divination cards from one map to another. And for me personally, if I do the Toxic Sewer strategy, I'm going to take these cards here and I'm going to move them over to Toxic Sewer as we can drop the original scripture, the Enlighten and Mirror Shard cards, and it'll be a really, really strong strategy. If this confuses you, you really don't know what's going on, please leave a comment down below. I'll do another more in-depth video. I'm really close to unlocking my third Atlas tree. I guess I do have it. Oh no, I don't have it yet. I thought I had it. I'm like 9 maps short. As soon as I unlock my third Atlas tree and I start getting the ball and chain rolling for that, I'll be able to have a more in-depth video about that. The really good thing about Toxic Sewers is to maintain tier 16 maps, you only need 2 Void Stones, so you don't need to go too crazy. You can get your 2 Void Stones from, you know, doing your Eater and Exarch, from doing natural, you know, progression, and you'll be able to go in for it. And don't forget, you can use this first tree that we put together. This tree will get you to Eater and Exarch, no problems at all, and you'll be able to make a currency along the way. Now, as soon as I got to tier 16 maps, it felt like Mercenaries were a bit overtuned. You'll probably get punched around a little bit. You'll probably die a little bit. But as you saw, the early tier 1s, they can drop all kinds of crazy loot. They can drop all kinds of Chaos Orbs. You can get lucky and get Divines. I think the rare Mercenaries are called Infamous Mercenaries, and they have better loot. You can get all kinds of uniques, and it becomes a really good strategy of just like blitzing white tier maps to farm Mercenaries. Until they change it. I'm pretty sure they're going to change it. It seems really strong. It's like insanely strong. But outside of that, I have been doing, the last thing that I'll leave you with is I have been running, since I have Cast and Sun, I started putting together an ultimatum tree so I can start doing some ultimatum shenanigans that I started farming a little bit of beast to mess around with. But the TLDR is I'm just taking all of the ultimatum nodes. This character, and I'll show you really quick how it works, is this character pretty much is able to just open a map. We'll just grab this dig map because I don't have a lot of, maps. I'm pretty much able to, make my map, or just make a map that I can actually run, that I don't die to due to regexes. And the way that I'm doing things now, and this will be a whole nother video, would be more in depth and more explained, I'll talk about the build, is I just currently, while I complete my Atlas, I'm just running in a straight line on cast when stun. I'm looking for the ultimatum, and then I'm just running the ultimatums over and over, because this character is pretty sweet, and that's how I've been making some of my currency. So actually, let's go check on this guy. This guy's got stack decks. Stack decks are actually pretty expensive. They're about a chaos each, and these guys drop stack decks all the time. So it's definitely worth like farming these mercenaries. I got so many stack decks in the early, the early game. It was kind of crazy. So really, honestly, before you do anything else, I would really look for the mercenaries. And then the other thing that I've been doing is I've just been like doing ultimatum, and I don't do the stand circle ones. I usually just do the other two. But here we are, and I've been farming some ultimatum. It's been really good. It's been really nice. I've enjoyed it a lot. Ultimatum farming is not for everybody, but for me, it's been a whole lot of fun. But this is everything that I've been doing so far. And just to quickly recap what I've been doing, I started with my early league farming strategy. I started working my way up the Atlas. I farmed a bunch of mercenaries in white tier maps. I got a handful of currency, and as soon as I got a little bit of currency, I started buying bladed maps. Very specifically, I started buying tier 13 or better bladed maps. I have a couple of videos. I'll have them linked in the description down below, that'll walk you through how I was doing my early bladed tier maps, and I was using that to farm a little bit more currency, push my Atlas a little bit, and pretty much get the ball rolling. Every time I had enough currency to buy a divine orb plus maintain one bladed map, I would buy one bladed map and convert the rest of my currency into a divine orb. And that way I would just keep doing what I was doing. And then eventually what I did was I slowly bought the gear that I needed to convert my build over to what I'm playing right now. And then I started, dabbling into other and newer strategies while finishing the Atlas. And as soon as I finish the Atlas, now that I have a build that can farm and sustain bladed maps, my plan is to farm and sustain as many bladed maps as I can and start selling them in bulk to people who want to buy them, or go farm beasts, or do any other wildly cool strategy. But I'm going to be setting it up. There's also something really cool with King's March, and I'm doing some testing, and I'm working with some people to see if we can get you a cool King's March video. But that's coming soon, I promise. Give me like a day or two to put something together. But anyways, if you have any questions at all, feel free to leave a comment down below. Be more than happy to answer any of your questions. I'm going to be also live on YouTube and Twitch over the next couple of days. You guys can come stop by the live stream and ask questions there. And that's really about it. But for now, friends, I'm going to finish this ultimatum. I'm going to get this video to you guys. I'm going to slap out the rest of my Atlas. And, well, for now, friends, see you all in the next one.